What's going through your mind when you're watching an adaptation of something that you created?
First of all, let me say, it's wonderful. It's sumptuous. It's gorgeous. It's opulent. It's intelligent. It's witty. It is everything that one could imagine and more. And the more comes from the fact that it's gone into a different medium. I think you don't have to think in terms of an adaptation, because that sounds as if you're making some kind of compromise. When you go into a different medium off the page, then the whole potential of a project flowers out. So I'm asking myself, how does this look as drama? How does it look as television drama? And I think it's superb. And I am proud to be part of it, because I sit there with you, lost in wonder, absorbed. I've fallen into my own story.
And Peter Kosminsky, you are, up to this point, have been better known for contemporary dramas and documentaries. I wonder, what interested you in doing this project, and what was your approach?
Well, Hilary said to me when we first met, remember that these people don't know they're in history. You know, they think they're like us, the fools. You know, they think, well, we can ask Claire, but, you know, Anne Boleyn doesn't know she's going to have her head lopped off by a swordsman from Calais. Sorry, spoiler alert.
They'll be tweeting that already.
You know, they think that I suppose what Hilary was trying to say to me, I imagine she can say for herself, but I imagine what she was trying to say to me was that they think their lives are dependent upon luck, on circumstance, and primarily on their own decisions that they take within the moment. Those decisions don't seem to be set down for them as they are for us as we look back into the past. So my entire approach was to try to create a world in which felt real, felt contemporary, felt like they were us, so that you felt as if the people did not feel that their fates were predetermined, that they were living in the moment.
They can't read their own stories and pass judgment or draw a moral or say, she should have done this or the king should have done that. They're walking forward in the dark as we are, unable to read the next 5 minutes. And so it's a question of getting the contingency back into the process, remembering it's not predetermined, and that to them, as Peter said, it is not history. To them, it is contemporary.
And how did you bring that immediacy onto the screen?
A combination of factors, really. First of all, a lot of it flows from the writing. And Peter Strawn, the extraordinary screenplay writer, worked very closely with Hilary on that. Secondly, you cast the right people. You know, I'd worked with Claire before, with Damien before, with Mark Rylance before, and in contemporary pieces. So you know that they're not going to be theatrical, they're going to make it real. You use, and Gavin Finney, the DOP and camera operator, is here tonight. You shoot it with a handheld camera. You plant the camera on Cromwell's shoulder. You do not precede him into a room. You shoot it like a documentary. You don't get ahead of it. You try to make the audience, the viewer, feel that they're experiencing events with Cromwell as they happen, not stood back on, watching it on a cross arch.
And how do you, Claire, approach, again, playing a historical figure who there's been so many books written about her, many people feel they know that character already, and yet you have to start afresh?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to start afresh if it wasn't in Wolf Hall, I think, because I'd read the books quite before I got the scripts or anything like that. And I think anyone who's read the books, you reimagine a whole thing that you feel like you've received over and over and over again. You don't read something and instantly know the characters. I felt like I was discovering them all You know, I had no idea about Thomas Cromwell, anything about him. So I already had all the ideas I had, you know, that Anne had like 6 fingers and loads of warts and all those sorts of things. Like, I had to sort of, they were already gone for me. So no other, just as you would any person that you're playing. I do feel that there's sort of more of a responsibility when you're playing someone who has lived and breathed, that you honour the things that they went through. You don't want to sort of take liberties with the experiences that they had in their lives or anything like that. But no, I mean, you just sort of, like Peter says, you just have to play every moment as if it's happening right then and it's real, and it was real for them. And I think that gets lost a lot of the time.
Yes, it's better not to think of them as characters, but think of them as people.
Yeah.
And those are not costumes; those are clothes.
Yeah.
And was it, Claire, was it at all overwhelming having 2 large novels full of psychological detail? Was that in any way a distraction when it comes to playing the character?
No, because I didn't get any. Because it's all from his perspective. So you see what he thinks of Anne, but you don't ever hear what she's thinking. I've sort of done things before where you do get the internal monologue thing, and that's amazing as an actor, because then you it's all there and you can just open it up and say, what am I thinking in this scene, and it's already done for you, really, which is great. But in this case, you know, I had to fill in for myself, just mentally for myself, to know where I'd come from and what had happened previously, and you know, because there's so much information, there is so much stuff happening all the time, you know, that it was important for me to know, oh, I see, that's what's happened then, and I've done this by this point, and all that sort of stuff.
The thing about Anne, and I hesitate to say this with the creator sitting here, but I'll do my best, is that she's pretty horrible at lots of moments, and yet she has to completely break your heart at the end, and she does, Claire, at the end of episode 6. She absolutely does. And that's no mean acting achievement, to not soft pedal the aspects of Anne's character that are difficult, and yet not to pull back, and some actors would, to pull back for fear of losing the audience's sympathy. She doesn't.
Debbie Wiseman, already I feel like I have 1 or 2 themes in my head. What's your process? Where do you start from when it comes to composing a score?
Well, because I've worked with Peter, this is our 6th collaboration, so we have already established a working relationship over those 6 productions. And the wonderful thing about working with Peter is that I start very early in the process. Normally, well, quite often actually, a composer's brought in right at the end. So the film's been shot and edited, and then, you know, you're approached with maybe 6 weeks to finish the entire score, and you could be writing 45 minutes of music in that time. But with Peter, because you know, he loves music and wants to allow time to experiment, actually the music sort of had a life before he actually shot a frame of the film, and we had 3 or 4 sessions before Peter went on set. So Cromwell's theme, Anne's theme, had already slightly evolved. I mean, obviously when I watch it, it changes slightly, and we then fit it to the picture. But they were there in their sort of embryonic form before Peter had shot it. And Peter then took it on set with him and had the demos, which I prepared and listened, and they used it as temporary music in the edit room as well.
So it's been there throughout.
That's
unusual, is it?
It's very unusual.
Yeah.
It's extremely unusual, but for me, it's the most creative way to work, because, you know, you have experimentation time. We sat together around the piano, and I would be able to play lots of different ideas before settling on something that we felt was going to work and would see us through the 6 episodes.
I wonder, Hilary, does watching a performer like Mark Rylance give you any new ideas or insights into a character that you're still working on in some ways?
Well, this is a unique project, because usually when an adaptation is done, the book is closed, it is finished. And in this case, the project is live, it's super live. And what I have found is that, particularly, you know, working with the stage production, working with this, which is very different in feel, talking to Peter Strawn, There are points of emphasis one wishes to draw out. There are themes that linger in the mind. These all work into the third book. But because it is a life process, the third book is still a work in progress. The third book, in a subterranean way, feeds the two projects. It certainly fed the stage script. And I'm sure that in talking to Peter Strawn, I've been able to transfer insights back, as it were. You see, the third book is called The Mirror and the Light. It mirrors what's gone before. It casts light on it, sometimes fresh light. Sometimes things are not as we thought. Sometimes we come at them from a fresh angle. Sometimes gaps will be filled in. Things we didn't know about Cromwell's life, things I don't know about his life, I'm waiting for him to tell me. Working collaboratively with a team like this, with a team like the one we've had for the stage plays, it's a gift because you pool your capacities. You have someone to co-imagine with you. And I think that has been the hallmark of these two projects. People doing what they do best, doing it in collaboration, doing it superbly.